Whoa, what's got you so mad, Ludo? Have you been playing League again? Mario Kart? I'd agree if you said Mario Party, but Mario Kart's pretty well balanced, right? You disagree? Alright, bet. I'll put 50 down on that, but if you win, you can't spend all your winnings on cheese again. Whatever. Let's dive into this. Welcome to Design Delve. Now, Mario Kart, we all love it, your dad loves it. He's got to pick the boat so there's enough room for his ass, but he loves it. It's designed in a way to allow players of all ages and skill levels to have a relatively balanced experience, facilitated by its item system, but it's also well known for being frustrating when it attempts to do this. But when all said and done, is it actually balanced? Because Mario Kart isn't what we would conventionally describe as a balanced game. Well, that didn't last long. It's a party game. They're intentionally unbalanced to make the outcome unpredictable to cause friction, giving boosts to struggling players in an attempt to slow down the sweats. But if that is the case, what would a truly balanced Mario Kart look like? A race where every player has an equal chance based on their own skill? Well, I've got news for you, Ludo. That's just Mario Kart without the items or kart customization, which is just this. The item system is Mario Kart, so its balance has a massive impact on the game as a whole. Now, how Nintendo has altered its item balance over the series' lifetime will drastically change based on which title you're playing, but the one thing that is universal is its usage of feedback loops. What are feedback loops? Yeah, fair. Well, in general game design terms, feedback loops come in two simple varieties, positive and negative. A positive feedback loop is where the input matches the output. If you're winning, you will win harder, and Call of Duty's kill streaks are the most commonly used example of this. As the player begins to rack up kills, they unlock kill streak rewards to help them kill more efficiently, which leads to unlocking more kill streaks feeding back into itself. On the other hand, a negative feedback loop is where the output is the opposite of the input. If you're winning, a negative feedback loop is designed to make you have a greater chance of losing, and if you're losing, it attempts to give you the advantage so it can rebalance itself. This is commonly used as a multiplayer balancing tool, and our very own Blue Bastard is a fantastic example of this. Now, a little side tangent. I have always hated feedback loops, not their implementation, but just the academic description. They're so confusing to new designers because positive feedback loops can have negative connotations and negative loops technically aren't even loops. While attempting to begrudgingly teach this at uni, my students would just stare back at me, their befuddled gaze cutting deep into my soul like a hot butter knife through a baby seal. Yeah, I know, Ludo, but I didn't create these terms. What do you want me to do? Just reinvent them in a way that's easier to understand, discuss, and with less syllables as a cheeky bonus? Alright, fair. Well, we're going to take the words positive and negative and just fuck them off, because in the grand scheme of things, they're just confusing, and we're going to replace them with reinforcement and balancing loops. A reinforcement loop reinforces whatever is put into it, be it positive or negatively, and a balancing loop attempts to balance to a desired status quo. Same shit, better names. Right, now that we've got the mini game design lecture out of the way, how does Mario Kart use these to balance its races? So Plumber Cars is entirely based around balancing loops, utilised by these item boxes. What you get from them is based on your current distance from the player in first place. For example, when you're in second place and you're within 400 units of the person in first, you have a meager 5% chance of getting a red shell, but that chance is increased to a whopping 50% if you drop to 1000 units away. The further behind you slip, the greater items you receive, but the closer you get to first place and the closer the match becomes, it becomes more about skill rather than items. This is how Mario Kart attempts to balance the game and keep races competitive and interesting for players of all skill levels. Because that's something that conventional racing games have struggled with forever. There always being this one skilled but sweaty player being so good that it ruins the race for everyone else. But how racing games have tried to combat this, it hasn't been ideal. Because of their lack of items, nearly all conventional racing games need to utilise a hidden mechanic affectionately called rubber banding to keep their races interesting. Imagine that your car and the AI racers have a rubber band around them. If you race ahead of the AI, the tension of this band will pull the AI closer to you. They do this by artificially increasing their speed and driving skill so they will always stay within a certain distance of you. The same can be seen in reverse. If you fall behind, the rubber band slows the AI down so you can catch up. This is another form of balancing loop, an artificial way to keep the race in a high-stakes situation for players of all skill levels. You hate it? Well, yeah, that's because you're good enough at racing games so you can actually notice it. 90% of players are oblivious to this. Now, you'd think with the balancing loop nature of items in Mario Kart, they wouldn't need rubber banding, but no, they actually go even harder with it in an attempt to keep these races interesting, but this just backfires based on the player's skill. Because Mario Kart 8's AI are programmed to race in predefined positions which they are assigned at the beginning of the race. They will then rubber band off of one another and the player to maintain these positions at all costs. This causes a few issues. One is that for casual players, this can make it feel like the AI is always on their ass, ready to use their items to knock them out of their position, but for seasoned players, it can do the complete opposite. Due to the AI's requirement to stay in their formations, most of them only attempt to slow down to stay in their predefined positions, making the races feel non-competitive and slow, apart from the Chosen One. There will always be this one AI that was chosen by the gods to be in position 1, the Golden One. This is completely random, but for me, it's always Lemmy. Why is it always Lemmy? Fuck you, Lemmy! Yeah, you tell him, Ludo. Now, the advantage these chosen ones have is just silly. All AI racers have a default speed that is altered based on their position to try and keep them in their place, but not the one. They're the only AI racer that begins and remains at the default fastest speed for the entire race as they attempt to constantly steal position 1 from you. Now factor in the usage of the item balancing loop, abusing the rubber banding and their divine heritage to stay everlong on your booty, making them the fastest, dirtiest racer on the track that will snipe first place from you right at the last second if you let them. The single player, in terms of how the AI races, is not balanced at all, it's artificial. But what about multiplayer? As a party game, Mario Kart has been designed from the ground up to work within this space, but after taking a closer look, it's also a fucking mess. Firstly, real players can't rubber band off of one another, so if you're in first place, you can create an insane amount of distance between you and second, so this is where the balancing loop nature of items comes in to save the day, but because most items like bloopers or lightning affect the team as a whole, the only items first place truly needs to be worried about is the Great Equalizer. Oh, and red shells. But in first place, all offensive items transform into defensive ones. This ability to hold the items behind you to grant protection against incoming items is extremely powerful, but Nintendo knew this, so they countered it by giving them an insanely low chance of dropping if you're in first place. But Nintendo do repeatedly be making weird design decisions in the name of innovation for some fucking reason. Because in the original Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, they only had one item slot, and they made the change to include 2 in the re-release for some reason, but this has a gargantuan effect on gameplay. The most common item to get in first place is a coin. It's a simple fuck you from Nintendo, but they shot themselves in the foot because the game doesn't allow the player to ever have 2 coins in their inventory at any one time. So by keeping a coin in an open slot, when you get a new item, the game has to pull from the only available table of items, which coincidentally is only defensive items, meaning players in first place can guarantee safety and maintain their lead, completely breaking the balancing loop. But it gets worse. I'm here to warn you all about a truly terrifying thing: the mug zone. I am warning you, at all costs, do not allow yourself to fall into what I call the mug zone. It exists between 3rd and 8th place, and if you find yourself here, kiss your first place anthropomorphic champagne lover goodbye, because within the mug zone, boxes have the highest distribution of items that can mess up multiple people near you, be it multi-red shells, piranha plants, fire flowers, or boomerangs. This means that all players have a myriad of tools to mess up each other multiple times, with multiple item slots to boot. This creates one of the most chaotic, violent, and perpetual prisons in gaming history. Iframes cannot save you from the mug zone. Falling out of it will basically guarantee a catch-up item, but that just brings you right back into the zone. Getting to second place will give you the chance to see first place's glistening cheeks on the horizon before being dragged right back down to the depths of depravity, forever a mug, left in the dust, your friends chanting, "It's just a game!" Nah, not for me, fam. It's a crime. You're a crim. Yeah, You were right, this game isn't balanced at all. Even with its attempted use of balancing loops, it just creates an environment of chaos rather than order, and that's the point. To be honest, the general consensus for balance is overrated in my opinion, not just in Mario Kart, but for any multiplayer game. Perfected balance as an end goal for non-esports is not only practically impossible, it's just bad design. It would create bland and predictable games with all of the fun sucked out of them. Mario Kart has it right. You want to make it so that your dad, as slow as he is, can play Mario Kart, and even though he has no hope in hell of escaping the mug zone, he feels as if he's having an impact on the race. This is why it's so popular, revered and hated all at the same time. But what do you think? What do you think of the balance in Mario Kart? Could it be improved on, or is its imbalance the whole point? And which of you is still stuck in the mug zone? Let us know and we'll come save you. Right, come on dudes, it's time to go. You want to go to the shops? To buy what? Design Delve merch. Damn, I trained you well. Alright, say goodbye then. Alright, bye guys.